one of my favorite matches of yours that doesn't get talked about as much, but is the Undertaker match at SummerSlam in '97 with Shawn as the referee, and if you win, if what was the rule, like Shawn could never wrestle again in America if he didn't call it down the middle, but then if you lost, you couldn't wrestle in America again.
Yeah. That's another one of those ones where I think Vince, I don't know. Sometimes I was so impressed by when he laid it all out. It was like, that is the craziest storyline I've ever heard. Shawn, me and Shawn weren't even talking to each other. I love that match. It's one of my all-time favorites. One of my favorite guys to ever wrestle was Undertaker. I always think of my greatest matches like the Iron Man match and WrestleMania 13 and Owen WrestleMania 10 and Bulldog and Wembley. And there were such great matches, all those ones. But SummerSlam with Undertaker, he was such a great professional wrestler. He was really so good in so many ways. And we had like Steve Austin and me, we had such a respect and regard for each other and regard for each other's characters. His character was kind of like Frankenstein, and you had to kind of play into that, and play like you were scared and stuff like that sometimes. And sometimes you kind of think, this is so hokey. Who believes this stuff? But at the same time, I loved it. I was such a good mix of characters. Like when they mixed us together. I can remember when I first found out I was wrestling Undertaker, and we had a few different matches prior to that, I think at the Rumble and different things. But I can remember when he first came up to me, he goes, "I'm so happy that we're finally going to work." And I was like, I was thinking, it's not easy to wrestle Frankenstein. Like, and every time you can hit him with everything but the kitchen sink, and he's going to just sit up in the middle of the ring and get up and walk at you again. And all. I remember, what do you got to do to kill this guy? It's like, so I was kind of like not really looking forward to that kind of a match, like trying to pretend I'm scared and, the voodoo's going to get me, and, I have nightmares every night. And Larry, he goes, "This is my chance." He goes, "I've been waiting so long." He goes, "I'm so happy I can finally show everybody in the world that I can actually wrestle." And I didn't appreciate it so much at the time, but, I think if you watch Undertaker's matches and the way his career evolved, one of the first matches where you can really see Undertaker as the wrestler and the artist that he really was, the real true Undertaker, the great worker that he was in some of those matches. And that SummerSlam match was such a fun match to have, and such two guys that are working so hard to make each other. There's no not me trying to outdo Undertaker trying to outdo me, or it's just two guys working together to build this match and the story, and out of love and respect for each other, are going to have this amazing match. And that's what even Vince I give Vince total credit for that match. The whole match is not necessarily the moves, but the storyline of the match or the outline of it was all Vince's ideas with Shawn. And the timing is everything in wrestling. And if you look at the timing in the match where, at the very end where I spit on Shawn, I remember when we worked it out in the dressing room, we were trying to figure out, I said, what could I do to really piss you off? Like, you got to be mad to come at me with the chair. Like, it's got to be a reason. Like, I could say something to you or call you this, I said, nah, none of that's good enough. I said, I should spit on you. I said, Shawn and me weren't even talking to each other. It was like I said, I would never say this to you, and this is all true. But I said, Shawn, I'm just telling you, the best way make it seem real, is that I should spit on you. I said, don't worry, I won't spit on you. I'll spit right on your shirt. I'll spit right on your chest. And he's like, okay. And so when we had that match, you go 30 minutes wrestling Undertaker, you're breathing pretty good after 30 minutes. And so there's timing involved in Shawn confronting me and giving me the finger and all that stuff, and Undertaker stand up behind him slowly, and as I got like 3, 2, 1, I have to spit right now. And I remember it's like, there was not, my throat was so dry, and it was like, I just coughed out this big, like, and it flew out in 2 sections. Like it was two horkers, 2 big giant oysters that just, they were tied together with a string of snot. And they flew out of my mouth. And I remember it was like, oh my God. And one hit right here on Shawn's chest, and the other part just landed right on his nose. And I remember, if you watch SummerSlam, you can see Shawn counting, and he's got snot hanging off his nose. He's trying to wipe it off, and he's counting at the same time, and I could tell. I remember going, I just started the whole feud again. Like we just kind of buried the hatchet before the match, and I remember, like, Shawn, I asked him about this a few years ago, and he goes, I had no problem with any of that. Who knows what's true. But I always thought, nah, that pissed him off, especially like the next day when he watched it back. It's like, yeah, he did spit on me. Like, Jesus, because my whole relationship with Shawn took a deep turn, like for the worse. Like about a week later, we weren't talking to each other anymore, and we had to kind of the whole friction that led right into the screw job and all that. So